What's up, guys? Welcome to another episode of the CotAcasT. My name is Brian Bermudez, and I'm the host of the Craft of the Air podcast, the aviation podcast that expands your knowledge in each episode. Join us as we explore the untold world of aviation together. Guys, as you guys can see, I am joined by somebody, a very special guest, and I'm joined by Mohammad Hassan Khan. My brother, thank you so much for being on this episode of the CotAcasT.
Thank you so much for having me. It's my pleasure.
I've wanted Mohammed on for such a while now, and I was just talking to him before we recorded this, and you guys will find out why we haven't had him on the show. Some good news coming from Mohammed's camp. We're gonna jump right into it, Mohammed. This episode of the CotAcasT is brought to you by Craft of the Air, guys. Anything that you need aviation, visit www.craftoftheair.com. Our craft is of the air. So we jump right into it. This is a good episode because I feel like this is something that anybody in the field of aviation, anybody that's interested in aviation maintenance, a lot of people are going to get some good information out of this. Whether you're a current A&P student, maybe you graduated and you're looking to take your test, Mohammed has some really unique insight. Because when I think of Mohammed, he was one of my best students. Now that I think about it, I'm not just saying this because he's on the show. He would ask, there's some students that they just ask questions to ask questions. Mohammed would ask questions, and they were good questions. And so I always enjoyed having him in the class. I guess that leads me to the first question. Mo, what led you to go to A&P school to become an aircraft mechanic?
Well, to be honest with you, my story is a little different than any other. Um, I studied religion for about 16 years of my life, and I was sitting in a friend's couch trying to understand what to do next. I was planning on going to college, but I didn't know what to study. So I asked my friend, who was currently enrolled in Vaughan at the time, that, hey, what can I actually do? He asked me a simple question: how do you learn better, from the book or hands on? I said, hands on. The next thing he asked me is like, give me your ID and your credit card. I kid you not, that was the best decision of my life that I gave it to him. And 4 days later, I was in Vaughan, and the best decision I ever made.
Did that even cross your mind? Growing up, that 16 years where you were devoted to this, did that ever cross your mind? Be like, you know what, maybe one day I'll be fixing a jet?
Not really, but to be honest with you, it excited me that, hey, this is something I would love to do.
Yeah,
That sounds really great.
yeah. I think that's unique too. When you tell somebody, I don't know if anybody, since you've become a mechanic, I don't know if anybody has asked you, hey, what do you do for a living? And there's something unique about telling somebody. Has that happened to you yet?
Yeah.
How was that? What did they say? What's their reaction? The first reaction.
The first reaction I got is like, wait, you as an engineer of an airplane? My old classmates, they're like, what? This is not what we have foreseen before.
You know what, and I don't think that's necessary. Muhammad was actually if anybody was gonna ask any other student a question, I would say that I would hear the most people saying, Muhammad, take a look at this. Muhammad, take a look at this, especially before a test. I would say
Oh
when
man,
you
thank you. I appreciate that.
when you were, and you know what, staying with A&P schools, what would you tell somebody? Now I know you had it. You put a lot of work in. You study. You took a lot of work. You took a lot of notes. You asked a lot of questions. But there's a lot of students that they get caught up kind of, I'd say, in my opinion, midway point. And a lot of people, they don't come back. They don't necessarily end up getting their licenses. What type of advice would you have, Mohammed, to somebody who's kind of, saying maybe this is not for them, or maybe they don't have the intelligence to get this license and get it done?
Well, I think if you ask me that question, I'm not gonna lie, it is hard and easy at the same time. But for some people, what they don't have the self confidence in them.
Mm,
I think that's the main reason. they think too low of themselves. Everybody can get this license. It's not hard. It's all you have to do is put in the work.
Yeah.
And it's not a lot of questions, to be honest with you. When you actually look at the test, for orals it's like 30 pages.
Right.
For writtens, it's yeah, you gotta study what, 2, 3 days straight.
Hmm.
It should be fine. But you gotta study. Not like, hey, I'm gonna do 10 minutes, 10 minutes I'm gonna watch
Yeah.
this, 10 minutes I'm gonna do that, I'm gonna come back to it. No, you gotta actually focus on and study.
And you know what? If you were kind of putting in the work to begin with, I think you kind of become accustomed to the study habits. You become better and faster at studying material, you know? So that's another thing. That's a good point actually that you say. And you know what? And I like what Mohammed mentions in terms of being confident because I always say one of the best traits of a good mechanic is somebody who's confident in their abilities and their work, you know? What would you say?
What?
Go ahead,
Mhm.
Mohammed. Go ahead about that.
What I was gonna say is that, hey, when somebody asks me a question, let's say, hey, how is this done? How is I don't know what to do next.
Hmm.
For me, it was, hey, I don't know. I'm gonna find somebody who knows it, and
Right.
I'm gonna learn it. Not once, not twice, as long as it takes. I'm gonna learn it. Once I
Right.
learn it, I can teach it to others.
And
And
that, and that
yeah,
That
go
that's
ahead.
that's such a, no, that's such a good mentality, Muhammad, to have that it's not a lot of people and a lot of people in this generation will actually say, "Oh no, you know what? This is not going to work. Let's put in a report. This is just a mess." And you say, "You know what? I'm going to learn it. All right. I'm going to find somebody who knows it. I'm going to learn it, and then I'm going to do it until I'm good at it." You
Yeah,
know?
you don't get good at it if you don't do it.
No,
You have
no.
to actually do the job to actually become a master of it.
What would you say was the most difficult part about being in A&P school, Muhammad? Just kind of getting into the rhythm of things, kind of just becoming accustomed to the testing, studying.
To be honest, Von College A&P school was piece of cake to me. To be honest,
He's being modest. That's what this is. He's being modest. This guy is he's good.
hey,
He's
hey,
good.
hey, hey,
Listen,
hey. First of all, I memorized the whole Quran, which is like 611 pages.
that's impressive. No, I'm
So
I'm not.
to that extent, this was a piece of cake.
Something something a lot less important, a lot of less condensed. Yes, you're
True.
right about that.
And one thing I really want to say is that for someone who didn't actually go to any public school, I didn't go to high school or anything like that, any type of general knowledge, coming to MP school at Vaughan, I thought I'm gonna get squashed. Like I didn't know anything.
Right, right.
Like in general type of knowledge, like what do I do? But the way our instructor at Vaughan had taught us, hey man, I gotta give salute to you guys. You
No,
guys are you guys are amazing.
No, I appreciate that, Mo. And he was a good student. You know, being that transition, speaking from Vaughn and Mohammed, he tested, he passed, he got his federal license, airframe and power plant, and now he's out there. He's an engineer out there. What was the biggest transition from being at Vaughn, learning these small mock-up systems, dealing with us as instructors, to now being out there with the big guys? And I know you're going through the big training and now, what was the biggest transition for you?
What I would say is that after you get your license, it gets frustrating to find a job.
Hmm.
Basically, I applied a lot of places. I got called from some, and it didn't really work out. Like I got called from United saying, "Hey, would you like to move to Florida?" I'm like, that's not for me. I can't do it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Then I got called from Republic. That's a regional. Um, I didn't know what to do at that point because I wasn't getting anywhere. Then the opportunity presented itself at JetBlue, and I'm like, hey, this is something I would love to do.
Yeah.
And it's right by my house, like 8 minutes drive. So at JFK, hey, why not?
That's an interesting point that you bring up, Mo, I keep hearing about everyone saying that there's A&P jobs everywhere and you can get a job just about any place with any company at any airport. And it's not necessarily that cut and dry, is it?
It's not.
Mm,
Yeah. At the same time, you do have a lot of opening at the same time. But the thing is, to go through those processes, like let's say I did take the job at United in Florida, I would have to move my whole existence to Florida. That's a big thing for me because my
yeah.
whole family lives here. To be out there by myself, it would be hard. Yeah. At the same time, like I heard this when I was in school that hey, everybody's hiring, all the majors are hiring. When I actually went to apply, I didn't see those majors.
Mm,
But at the same time, the opportunities are coming. What I have learned at JetBlue is that as we recover from pandemic, they are short-staffed in every station. They are hiring, mass hiring. Everybody, no. The best thing about it is no experience needed.
mm.
That's one of the best things I have done. Like I was, I was excited and like to be honest, I didn't think I was gonna get into JetBlue.
So you were a bit shocked when you were like,
Ah,
oh,
yeah, yeah. When I went to
okay.
when I went to the interview,
Yeah, tell me how the interview process was. Was it difficult? Was it long?
no,
Okay.
you know what was the question they asked me? The first question
Hmm.
about knowledge base.
Hmm.
The question was, what are the three basically elevators, ailerons, and
Oh, the flight
rudder
control.
flight controls? The basic flight controls.
You have also, so it's very basic, these interview questions.
Very, very, very basics. And that was like, I had two questions about AMP. The rest was just general knowledge. Hey, were you ever in a situation where you had to go above and beyond in your
Mm.
old job?
The HR questions.
Yeah, HR question, human
Yeah.
resources. That's it.
Yeah.
Most of it was that because what they're looking into right now is that you have the passion for it. If you have the passion for it, they will teach you everything you need to know.
Yeah. Yeah. That's right.
If you're if you're interested, they will teach you. It's not
Yeah.
like just because you got your license, you're supposed to know everything. You're not.
No.
As I just went through one of the system classes, what we went through at Vaughn, it was similar, but there was a lot of details for that particular aircraft that we didn't know about. So
Mm-hmm.
we had to actually learn those questions, all those answers, and actually take a test on it and pass them.
Hmm.
So they actually teach you what you're gonna do.
And
So it's not like hey, just because you got your license, I don't know anything or what they're gonna do. They're gonna fire me or anything. No, it's not like that.
and a lot of people think like I got the license, that's it, I'm set, I'm good to go. And Mohammed's like, no, wait, I'm doing a lot of training right now and traveling and doing all this stuff now.
Hey, I when I was in the training, I felt like I was back in school. Not gonna lie.
Yeah.
Not
Really?
gonna lie. Yeah,
That's
I
interesting. No, go ahead.
in in phase of 3 weeks, I had like about what 400 slides on my Word doc.
That's more than my class. You know what? That's a lot of slides in that class. That systems class.
Yeah, and that's because they go A to Z, every
Yeah, I
single
see.
system. Like, uh, it's not like breaking down airframe,
No,
general,
it's in
and public
detail.
in details in everything, and they focus on the things that you're actually gonna work on as a line
Right.
maintenance.
Let me
If
ask
you're,
you something,
Mhm.
Mohammed. I know a lot of people when they're in A&P school, they say, "Oh, well, I don't feel like we're learning enough," or "I feel like we should be learning more." And then, being a former A&P student and graduating and get your licenses, and now you see firsthand that we get sent away for so much training. Do you prefer the method that we have where we just get the basics in A&P school and then the airlines teach us what we need to know? Or should we get something that's more well-rounded from the beginning all the way through?
Well, what my personal preference is, the basics should be done in school. At the same time, we should get a little bit more info or a little bit more experience in the big boys because that's what we can actually work on.
Mm-hmm.
Not a lot of students actually go to general aviation. You have
Right.
to understand
No,
that. And we focus heavily on general instead of the big boys.
that's a good point. That's true. That is very
Like
true.
our even our test, the AMP test, is mostly based on general.
It is. It
Yeah.
is. That's a good point. I've had
So
a lot of people on the show, and nobody's ever brought up that point about it being too general aviation focused. The testing and the schooling, really.
yeah, we learned all this basically carburetors, this and that. We're not gonna see any of those in big boys. That
Yeah,
doesn't exist. I'm not saying that we shouldn't learn it. We do. We have to learn it because a lot of the systems work similarly. But at the same time, if we had focused a little bit more on the big engines, I think it would help a lot of upcoming students in order for them to actually familiarize with themselves with what to expect.
I agree with you on that one. Speaking about aviation and speaking of different topics in aviation, a question I have for you is what do you think is the most important topic nowadays? Is it safety? Being out there firsthand and seeing. Would you say safety or do you think, yeah,
Safety. First,
yeah,
first rule. First rule in aviation is safety. I
everything?
have everything is safety because if I'm gonna sign something off, if I'm gonna put my livelihood, my MP on the line for something to sign it off, I'm gonna make sure it is safe to go.
Yeah. And when you
And
speak about that responsibility that you have of maintaining something and being responsible for so many lives each day, do you feel that being a new mechanic?
yeah, I do. I definitely do because now my family is gonna travel. It's not like I, my family didn't travel before. Now it's the responsibility on me. The responsibility on me that hey, if my family were in that plane, how would I treat it? That's how I look at it right now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's why you could
Because
go ahead.
because once you get in the line, you have to. I know a lot of mechanics do this. That hey, it's good to go. It can go
Mm-hmm.
another round. It wouldn't make a dent. I get it. I understand that. But at the same time, can you though? Can you make sure it's good to go? I have a lot of. I mean, I don't disrespect them, but I wouldn't be want
No.
to be one of those people. Never that.
Have you seen firsthand with other airlines, not JetBlue, but with other airlines out there, have you started to see some of that, what we speak about in A&P school? Like, don't be like that mechanic. Don't be like that. Don't do that. Have you started to see that out there in the field and airports?
Well, I'm actually starting my OGT this week.
Okay.
I, yeah, I am not at the airport yet.
Okay.
So,
He's not there yet.
yeah,
He
so
will. He will see stuff like that at some point.
definitely, definitely. I heard about it from other students who actually came from other airlines.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they were like, "Oh, I saw this mechanic," and what our instructor told us at Vaughn is true. Aviation industry is very small.
Yeah. That's true.
The reason why I say this is that one of my fellow classmates from JetBlue was telling me that, hey, oh, sorry, not classmate, one of my instructor at JetBlue, he said, the guy who worked under me became my supervisor at my new position. So he was a lead. The young mechanic who worked under him, once he changed the job, he was under his
Yeah.
mechanic.
On the his
So
mechanic. Yeah.
so never burn bridges. That's one thing. Never burn bridges. You
That
have to
is a
go. Hey, be honest. Like, hey, I'm sorry. This is what it is. Don't never burn bridges, no
no.
matter who it is.
It always is. You know, Mohammed, my father always used to say, you treat everybody the same. You treat the janitor downstairs in the building the same way as you would somebody in the penthouse. You treat everybody the same. Don't burn bridges and stay the same, consistent. But you have some people that they do a nice job in front of you, this, that, and then when everyone's not looking, no safety wire, not changing this filter. We didn't inspect that. This type of stuff happens all the time.
And I don't want to be that mechanic.
No, no. What do you think?
Be that mechanic.
Oh,
Hmm.
apart from like safety and apart from things like that, what do you think is one of the biggest challenges that aviation faces? You know, the job shortages, we're kind of filling in, I guess, right? What do you think is one of the biggest
Mm,
challenges?
to actually, what I would say about that, I know we are filling up the job that required a lot of manpower required. We're filling up that, yes, but at the same time, the prices are going very high.
Hmm.
The aviation prices, basically the fuel efficiency, this and that. Because of that, the fares are going up. So if how do I put this? Basically, what I'm trying to say is that the cost of it is going up,
Hmm. So,
and mhm,
no, so if we have costs going up, but
mhm,
we have, you're saying that mechanics are getting paid the same amount, but we have costs of everything rising, and we're
yeah,
still getting paid here.
yeah,
Yeah,
more or
I see where
less.
you're getting with that.
All right, quick question though.
Hmm.
I know you. That's one of your questions, but I want to ask you
Tell me.
why. Why do we call mechanics, not engineers?
So it's I would say we're engineers, but I think Mohammed, what it is there's a certain, I guess, general classification for engineers in the United States where they say they're everyone that do the calculations and design everything on paper and they
Hmm.
put everything into action. And the mechanics are wrench turners. I guess historically, going back to World War II, we were called mechanics and it never sorted itself out. But a big part that has to do with this, Mo, is when you look at the EASA licenses and the European licenses, a lot of them will require a lot more schooling in certain cases. So there's still some cases there where it's not as even. It
True,
should be
true.
engineer. It should be engineer.
It should. It definitely should be.
You
But
know, there's
I
no,
think so.
you're maintaining every system known to mankind in one self-contained
Yeah.
craft.
If we are not engineers, how are we servicing everything though? You know?
How, how, how are you responsible for 250 people's lives? And if that plane takes off and lands a couple of times, well, maybe 1,000 people on your
Yeah.
signature.
Yeah.
You know, you're maintaining, and then you'd say that this mechanic is maintaining a jet engine that's $55 million each, just the jet
Yeah.
engine alone. I mean, you can't call them the same thing you call somebody that fixes my Civic in when I need to go bring my Civic to
True.
the
True.
shop.
Very true. Hey, no disrespect to
What do you think?
auto mechanic, but what I would say is that I think I'm an engineer because I had to learn weight and balance. I had to learn everything we need to build an
Physics?
aircraft.
Yeah.
We have to build, yeah, basically like every single thing we learned it. It's not like we did it. If you put uh, a schematics in front of us from A to Z how to build it, who are the people who is building it? It's us, not the engineers who put it on the paper. We could do that too.
You put it a step further. A lot of people don't even realize an AMP needs to know the composition of the aluminums and the alloys made. We need to know corrosion control and
Oh my God.
contamination. You can't even imagine the things that an aircraft mechanic
Yeah,
needs to know.
exactly. Exactly. And
I
I do
mean,
believe we're getting underpaid.
do you think that if let me ask you this off the questions. Do you think that if the title engineer was implemented across the board, do you think the salaries will start to go up?
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we're called mechanics, not engineers.
That's it. So that's where I see where you were going with that in the beginning. You see, and it's true, and I strongly agree with that. Do you see that changing anytime soon?
Not in like next 5 years.
It's gonna take some time. Yeah.
It's gonna take some time. It's gonna take some work. It's gonna
Well,
have to be unanimous within our community.
yeah, yeah.
It has to be. It has to be done within our community. Who is higher ups? We have to talk to them as we grow up.
What's Mohammed? What's something that you would want people that are not aviation professionals, but maybe enthusiasts, they like following it. What's something that you would want them to know about aviation that you think a lot of people have no idea about aviation?
Give me an example.
Like, let's say, like a lot of people don't realize that as A&P students, you guys do non-destructive testing of
Hmm.
components. They'll be like, wait, you guys have to do that? Or a lot of people wouldn't know that that you can read schematics and you can do electrical engineering calculations on how to solve electrical schematics. What are some more things that you would say, I bet you people in aviation don't know about that?
Hey, one thing I want to tell you is
Hmm.
that I'm glad that you brought up electrical part of it. Is that I wanted to thank you for
Oh,
teaching me GE10, AE20, and PE30 because
that.
those classes have taught me whatever I know about electricity. Hey man,
Mm.
electricity is big on jet
Yeah.
engines, jet aircraft. If you don't know how to troubleshoot those, well, you're dead on the water.
Good point,
You're dead
Mohammed.
on the
That's a good
water.
point. That's a good point. That is a good point. And
And
and and a lot of freshmen, I'm sorry to cut you off. A lot of these freshmen don't realize how important these electrical classes are.
yeah, they don't. They think, oh, it's electricity. Who cares? We have to care. At the same time, what another example you brought in as a schematics. That's one of the big, like most used information that you we use as a technician to troubleshoot or basically do anything.
Hmm.
Anything you need to do, you have to read an IPC. You have to read a schematic, like to locate where the problem is. If you don't know how to do that, hey, I got a news for you. You gotta learn it. You better
Yeah.
learn it.
Yeah, you have to. That's a good point that you bring up. Mohammed, I think being a mechanic now, you know what? Being an engineer now, I would say that I ask a lot of my buddies this. So now I ask you this. You're official. What type of innovation or type of invention would you like to see out there for mechanics? Something to help us. Maybe something that is going to change maintenance or trying to make it a little bit safer. I was thinking something like a drone. I don't know what you would think about that. Maybe a drone
Hmm.
that we can send and like if the weather's bad, it can like take pictures of like damage on the top of the plane, something like that. What do you think?
A drone would be nice, yes. At the same time, what I would say is that for in or to help us as a mechanic, I think all the logbooks entries should be digital because everything is digital at the moment. I know some of the airlines doing it already, some of it are not. As in JetBlue, we do both, like in papers and electronic. I think that should be electronic to begin with. That's one thing. Second thing is that I think the company should provide tools
Hmm, good point.
because because hey, if you're gonna okay, how do I put this? The calibrated tools they provide, that's amazing. But if you want me to use good tools, I have to buy it. I have no problem buying it, right? At the same time, who's it for? It's for
Mm,
the airline. You require me to have good tools. Yeah, it's certain tools only, right? As you know, that when you started, there was like what 20 to 25 tools you were
yeah,
required to have,
big list.
but to do the job, actual job, you need way more than that.
No, oh yeah.
I recently just ordered my tools, like what I have needed. It came up to almost 2,500.
I
That's
was
a
gonna
big
say,
ask.
and this wasn't. I'm assuming this wasn't like Snap-on. This is
No,
like what
yeah,
you can get for the budget.
it's like Craftsman and Gear Wrench.
Right.
That's what
Most
I got. Like if I wanted to get Snap on, that's over 10 grand.
Yeah, people don't. This is. I like that Mohammed brought this up. A lot of people don't realize that being an aircraft engineer, it's not necessarily. We don't necessarily have a grandpa's toolbox in our, in the back of our truck. It's pretty
Exactly.
expensive, the tools
It
we
is.
have, and you need a lot of tools. Especially line maintenance. You need a good amount of tools.
And I like the idea about the drones
Yeah,
because that actually gives me an idea saying that, hey, that will keep in record what damage actually happened. Like, as a mechanic seeing the damage, calculating everything and fixing it, it will capture a picture of it and submit it in the records. Like, hey, this was the damage, this was the aftermath.
right. That's what I was thinking. You see, we think alike. You see, good minds think alike. That's what I was thinking. It could do a walk around inspection. It's documented now. So that's
Yeah,
on record, you know?
and you can't cut corners no more.
No.
You can't cut corners.
And that improves safety
It definitely does.
as a result. That's a good point. That's a
And
really
another thing I personally think is um, good, not just a good to have it, but it's required for a mechanic to have is integrity
yeah,
and
that's a good
passion
point.
and passion.
Integrity and passion. Yeah. Integrity and
Because
passion.
if you don't hold yourself accountable for the things you do, what are you actually doing?
Right.
And if you don't like what you're doing, why are you doing it?
What's the point?
What's the
Yeah.
point? If you're just here for the money, this field is not for you, my friend. I'm sorry to say it.
No.
Yeah, there's money to be made. Don't get me wrong. Yes, the opportunity is there, but at what cost?
If you don't love what if you don't love what you're doing, if you love what you're doing, the 12-hour shift will go by. It'll feel like 12 minutes. I'm telling you.
Yeah,
You'll be having so much fun out there. It won't even feel like you're on shift sometimes.
and the funny thing is, one of the five core values I learned at JetBlue, one of them is being having fun.
See that?
The first core value is safety, integrity, caring, passion, and fun. They actually included that into one of the core values.
And that's important. And if you have a staff that's happy and they're having fun, that makes a safe airline. They are a successful airline from what we know them to be. That makes a part of it. That's a good point.
Because if I come into work where everybody is like, hmm, you need to do this like this. Hey man, come on, how long can you tolerate those situations?
Yeah.
You need to loosen up at the same time. You have to have integrity. Like when what I do it for the safety of people.
Right.
As if I'm flying in that plane. If I'm flying in that plane, I don't want other mechanics to be like, hey, this is good to go. I
Mm.
don't want to take that risk. Because as we saw in classes, those maydays and air disasters, most of it was basically because of maintenance.
And it could have been prevented, a lot of those air
Yeah,
disasters, you
it could
know?
have been, it should have been
Yeah.
prevented.
Yeah.
I I really think mechanics don't understand what they're signing up for themselves.
I think you're absolutely right. I think in a lot of cases they don't, and they don't realize the magnitude.
And one thing I would say for the big airlines, once they see, oh, there's union and you're not gonna get fired, they really don't care no more.
No, they don't.
It is great to have union. I understand that. It's good to have union, but at what point?
Right.
When they should hold accountable for the people they are signing up. You know,
Right.
not just when they get into messes or when they get into trouble, but at the same time, just like QA, quality assurance, union should actually implement that hey, this is our standards. If you don't fulfill this standard, you're not welcome.
Right. I totally agree with that. I think that, and that should be something that's more acted upon. I
Yeah.
think that would promote a better safety culture. In my opinion, at least. Mohammed, I wanted to ask you one last question. I know me and Mohammed, we're this is the jet life. Me and him, we're always up late. He's working, I'm working. We're always on the go. He's heading to work to the airport. I'm heading over here. But I wanted to ask you this, Mohammed. You
Hmm.
always have such a one of the main reasons why I liked Mohammed in the class so much was his attitude. He always had a really good outlook on things. Even if he was having a bad day, he wouldn't shadow that, I think, on everybody else. And he did a good job at putting a smile on people's faces. Going forward, where do you see yourself in aviation? What's your goals? Do you want to stay on the East Coast? Are you thinking about maybe moving to the West Coast? What are you thinking?
See, I will go wherever my job takes me,
Okay.
but not downwards.
Okay.
My in 10-year goal, I want to be a base manager. I don't want to be a tech for the rest of my life. I want to be in charge. I want to grow as a mechanic. As and to be honest with you, I'm actually thinking about bachelor's,
That's
and
good.
I'm thinking about what's that called? EMP management. What do you
I
think
think that's
about that? What's your take on that?
I think that that's a really good investment, and I think it would be a really good investment. I'm not saying this because it's on the podcast. I think it would be a really good investment for someone like you because I think that you do well at delegating responsibility and and you know what it takes to get the job done. And a lot of people don't have that naturally, you know. I think it's a good investment. And how many years do you want to be working nights, changing tires, doing the same hydraulic changes, working the nights, doing a double? At some point, Mohammed, you just recently married. Congratulations. At some point, you want
Thank
a
you so much. I really
family,
appreciate it.
you
Definitely.
know? So this is smart, I think, in my opinion, what he says about the bachelors.
Because what I have encountered or what people have gave me advice on is that yes, you can apply to sue, eventually go up the ladder. At the same time, if you don't have your bachelor's, you will not get those positions as easily or as qualified as. Basically, what I'm trying to get at is that if you're just a mechanic and you want to become a base manager or a supervisor, right? Your salary would be, let's say, starting 120. If you had bachelor's, you would bump up to 160.
Right. With that degree on that
Yeah,
resume in your
yeah,
hand. Yeah. I see what you're saying with that. And you're right, as a line mechanic, you could work your way up there, but I'd say it would take a lot, in some cases, a little bit more effort.
yeah. A lot more effort and a lot of more hours.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
At least what I would think is about 15 years, at least
And
at the
you're
same
break
airline.
and you're breaking your back for 15 years at that
Yeah,
airline. Yeah.
but at the same
I
time, how long can you? So this is my thing, right? I'm doing all of this, right? What is the airline doing for me? I'm breaking my back.
Hmm.
12 hours a night for you guys. If I don't deserve a promotion, who does? The person who's coming from another airline?
Yeah, right,
No,
right.
that's that's selfish, and I don't think that's not who I am. You know,
No,
I want to be rewarded for the work I have done,
as it
for the
should
times
be,
for the times that I have given to the company.
as it should
You
be.
know,
It should be that way. That's it's interesting, as you start to you're just getting into it, and you're just starting to experience all these things. But one of the more important things that I see that you have that a lot of people don't is you're very optimistic about the future, and you have your heart is in the right place in aviation. That's the best thing about it when it's like that.
hey, so basically, I did not think I was gonna do this for the rest of my life, but as I came in, as I came into aviation industry, I see myself doing this another 40 years without any
Yes.
hesitation. If I'm alive, if
You
God,
will be.
God, if God lets me do it.
Yeah, no, you will be. You will be.
Because hey,
All right.
one thing, tomorrow is never promised. One thing is promised is that. That's what I
That
believe in.
and that's true. And I heard that this morning, Sunday morning. I heard that as well. And it's refreshing to hear that. I think a lot of people need to hear that. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. There's no sense in us wasting negativity or anger on anything.
Never.
Let's just live right now. We think about the things that are important to us. Aviation was always something that was important to you. You made your dream a reality. You know?
Hey, this is just a stepping stone. This is
That
just a
you,
stepping stone. I just got my foot on the door.
yeah.
This is not my dream. This is I just put my foot in the door.
Literally,
This
the whole sky is yours now. Aviation, the world is yours.
exactly,
You know?
exactly. And one thing I think people what they don't understand is that when you get your AMP license, you're not limited to work in aviation industry only. One one of my boy who actually got me into Vaughn College is working for Tesla now.
Really?
Yeah,
What does he
I
do for
think you probably
Tesla? He doing working for Tesla now?
yeah. I don't know. I think you know him. His name is Nivir, I believe. Nivir Islam.
I heard the name. I heard the name. But that's a really good job.
He's working for Tesla. He's doing good for well himself. He's
That's
doing
not
good.
bad. That's not bad.
Yeah. And one thing that saddens me about the people who's graduating from Vaughn is that like about 30 to 40% of my classmates that I talk to, they haven't gotten their licenses yet.
Hmm.
And I think it's really sad because they think, oh, we have time, we have to go, I think the time is now
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
the longer you wait, the more things you forget, and becomes harder. And
Right.
once that 2 year threshold passes, you're gonna have to relearn everything.
And it's not fresh anymore in
There's
your head, so
everything.
you have a little bit more catching up now.
Yeah, I think the whoever is going to NPS school at the moment, they should keep that in mind. They should set a goal for themselves that as soon as the last semester is ending, you should have your written schedule already and good to go as
Right.
soon as possible.
And then just go
Because
and take it.
DME is gonna take a while. If you don't schedule it, you are farther along the run. The longer you wait, the farther you're gonna get.
It just
And
grows, yeah.
what I have experienced is that while you're taking the test, don't stress it because from personal experience, while I was taking my practical for what was it, my comp plan, I actually
Uh-huh.
had a seizure.
Really? Oh
Yeah,
yeah, I did hear about that.
I had a seizure.
Wait. Tell me about this. Wait a minute, Mo. So you were in the middle of taking your practical for your federal licenses, and you suffered a medical emergency.
I did.
What exactly
Uh,
happened? So you started feeling lightheaded?
no, actually, what happened was I was sitting at the computer. I was looking up at the ATP for my paperwork. The next thing I remember myself is that I woke up in a stretcher. What
Wow.
what Dom had told me is that he heard a loud noise and he came running. He saw me on the floor and he called the ambulance.
Well, and everything, but everything was okay after they checked you out?
Yeah, they checked me out the same day.
Okay.
Um, Dom actually helped me out big time. He gave me a rescheduling the week after.
Okay. So that was good.
Once you talk to your professors for DMEs, I think Vaughn actually has accommodate a lot for the students. I spoke to Dom about, hey, I need to go out of the country. I'm gonna go out of the country because I was getting married.
Hmm.
He actually gave me the dates.
Okay.
He
So that
hooked me
was
up.
good. He
That
did.
was very good because
Yeah.
if I had made up my mind that if I don't pass my license, I don't get my license, I'm not going to get married until I get my license.
Mm,
I would have to call off everything. That's what my
really?
mindset was. Yeah, I'm not getting married until I get my license because once you get married, hey, you have more responsibility to think of.
Right. It's true. It's true.
Yeah,
That is true. And now that you're married, Mohammed, you have to have somebody else to answer to. So you're gonna have to
yeah.
do.
Hey man, trust me, it's hard. It's hard. It's hard. Not gonna lie.
All
How
right.
you been, man?
No, I've been
Oh, I
good,
just
man.
want to ask you.
No, I've been
Is
good. It's been a good summer. It's been the usual GE10 summer class. Mohammed knows this very well. GE10 Basic Electrical Systems, lecture lab, publications,
you
lecture.
doing nice,
The
nice.
all your old school favorites I'm teaching this summer.
Ah, nice.
No, but everything's been really good. But Mohammed, I really want to thank you for being on this episode of the CotAcasT, and I really
Hey,
wanted to have you on, man.
it's my pleasure. I'm
I,
honored that you actually invited me on this podcast. I mean, I was following this for a couple of weeks now. Since I first saw it on LinkedIn, I'm like, hey, Brian started doing this?
I started to promote the business, but then it turned into people started watching it, so I was like, all right, yeah, we'll do it like a weekly thing.
It's, we need to talk about more aviation because, yeah, we need people to get interested in this, and it's not that hard. It's
It,
not.
it,
It's really not.
And you know what, Mohammed? That's why I really made the channel. I didn't make the channel to make money or anything. I thought there was nothing really for us in aviation for people to speak about aviation maintenance, about private flight, general aviation, something
Hmm.
where we can speak about what we love, our passion,
Yeah.
you know? But anyway, Mohammed, listen, that about wraps it up for this week's episode of the CodaCast. Guys, we thank Mohammed Hassan Khan again for being on today's episode. Mohammed,
Thank you so much. Thank you so
we'll
much. I really
we'll be
appreciate it,
seeing
boss.
be safe out there and
I
be seeing you soon.
I do have one question though.
Yes, tell me.
All right. How do I become a professor like you?
Just send me a text right now and then tomorrow you could come into the No, I'm serious. This guy actually would really be a good instructor. We do need to speak about that separately, Mohammed. We do.
All right.
We need to speak.
See,
This is,
I appreciate it.
and then you never know because the next time you tune into the CotAcasT, Mohammed and I may be colleagues. Hmm?
Oh my God, that would be crazy.
No, serious. We will talk on that. But again, Mohammed, thank you, man, for being on.
I'm really honored. Thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, man. I'll see you.
You're the best. Good night.
Take care, man.